The reason you haven't got the results you want is not you. I know it's not what you've been telling yourself. I know the story in your head sounds a lot more like this. I'm just lazy. I don't have discipline. I'm just simply not built for this. I've tried everything and nothing works. But I offer you a completely different explanation, and I want you to actually sit with it because it changes everything. Here's a pattern I see over and over again. Someone starts a new program, week 1 goes well, week 2 goes well, week 3, life throws something at them. Work gets hectic, they go out the weekend, they may miss a session, they eat badly for 2 days, and the moment that happens, they feel like they failed. So they restart. Week 1 again, week 2 again, week 3, the same thing. And this cycle goes on for months, sometimes even years. I've spoken to people who've been living this exact cycle for 3, 4, 5 years. Not because they're weak, not because they don't care, but because every program they've tried was built for a version of their life that simply did not exist. One person I spoke to recently put it in a way I've never forgotten. He said he was living a double life. On the surface, everything seemed fine, but underneath, every time something reminded him of where he really was, a photo someone took, clothes that didn't fit, skipping dessert on his own birthday because he didn't want to make things worse, the reality would crash in. That's not laziness, that's someone who cares deeply about changing, trapped in a system that was never designed for them. Here's what generic programs always miss. They address what you do, but they never address why you can't stick to it. They tell you what to eat, they won't help you understand why you reach for junk food at 10 p.m. when you're exhausted after a 12-hour shift. They'll give you a workout schedule, they won't account for the fact that your schedule looks completely different every single week. They'll promise you results, they won't give you a system for what you do when life gets in the way, and life always gets in the way. So when you inevitably fall off, and with a generic program you will, there's no safety net. No one to say, okay, this week was different, let's adjust. Instead, you're on your own, looking at a program you can no longer follow, feeling like a failure, when actually the program just wasn't built for real life. There's a quote I think about all the time. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And that's exactly what's happening. It's not that your goals were wrong, it's that the system underneath them was never strong enough to hold you when things got hard. The right system doesn't assume your week will look the same every week. The right system doesn't collapse the moment you miss a session. The right system is built around the reality of who you are, what your life looks like, and what your actual schedule is, what your real triggers are, not a fantasy version of all of those things. I want to reframe every failed attempt you've ever made at this. Every program that didn't work wasn't proof that you can't do it, it was proof that the program wasn't built for you. That is a completely different story. One of those stories says you're the problem, the other says the solution just hasn't been specific enough yet. Think about it this way. If you went to a doctor and they gave you medication that didn't work, you wouldn't spend years blaming yourself for not responding to the medication. You'd find a different doctor or a different treatment. You wouldn't decide you're just not the kind of person who can't get better. But that's exactly what people do with fitness. They try something, it doesn't work, they then assume they are the problem. And they either try the same thing again, expecting different results, or they give up entirely and tell themselves they're just not built out for this. Neither of those is the right response. The right response is to ask a different question. Not what's wrong with me, but what was missing from that approach that didn't make it work in my specific life? And almost always the answer is the same. It was too rigid. It didn't have enough support around it. It wasn't personalized to the reality of how your days actually unfold. And when life happens, there was no one there to help you navigate it. So let me ask you something directly. How long have you been carrying the story that you're just not built for this? I can tell you from sitting across person after person who said exactly the same thing, that story is almost never true. What's true is that they never actually had a system that was built around them. And the moment they did, everything changed. You haven't failed, you've just been given the wrong tools. That's a solvable problem. And now that we've figured out that this is a solvable problem, I'd highly recommend you go check out this video here where we go in depth into how the smartest people that we know all have coaches.